Greetings, my non-existent viewers. How's everyone doing today? It's TVB, and as I stated in my Would You Rather Wednesday poll I made last night, my apologies for not making this video yesterday. I had to work at the zoo, and then I got off work that day yesterday at 1, and then right after that I had to work an evening shift at my second job that I got recently, so I just simply didn't have the time to make this video yesterday. So my apologies for this whole list week that I've been doing. It hasn't been like a consecutive bing bang boom 7 days in a row full of top 5 and top 9 videos. But I just figured today and tomorrow, it's now or never, I have to conclude this mini series of list videos. And these are two lists I've been looking forward to making for quite a long time now, because this past New Year's, now that it's 2025, we didn't just say goodbye to another year, right? We said goodbye to the first half of a decade. 2024 is come and gone, and now it's 2025. We are officially halfway through the 2020s. So I figured for today, I can finally make this video. My top 9 best movies of the 2020s so far. I'm gonna, when 2030 eventually rolls around, I'm gonna do my top 9 best movies of the entire decade. Just like how back in 2020, when that year started, I did my top 9 favorite movies of 2010s. I'm eventually going to do my full list of hey, these are my picks for 9 best films of the decade. But until then, since it's it's been 5 years, just, oh my gosh, the fact that 2020 was 5 years ago at this point is just beyond me. It's that's just insane. But yeah, there's been a lot of really great films that have come out within the past 5 years, despite the pandemic, despite theaters being closed for most of the first fifth of the decade, you could say. There's been a lot of great movies. And I feel there's a lot of films. Like always, these lists are based completely off of my opinion and from the films that I have seen. I feel there's a lot of really great movies, especially Oscar-winning movies, that I haven't seen that have come out in the past 5 years. So if you're hey, TV, why is this movie here but not that movie? Oh, you have a bad taste in movies. There's always, whenever I do these kind of best list videos, there's always that one person who comments on my videos, be oh, this list is made by a teenager or something like that. Because, oh, you don't like challenging films, or you just have bad taste in movies. Hey, if there's a certain film that you're surprised that didn't appear on my list, it's probably because I just haven't seen it. Or I just didn't love it as much as everyone else did personally. But, hey, film is all subjective. And keep in mind, lists are subject to change. And I feel there needs to be an opinions expiration date. You can't possibly think that I would think the exact same way about things as I did 5 years ago when I was a 21-year-old when this decade started. I don't even think the same way about certain things the way I did, a few months ago, or even a few weeks ago. Opinions change over time. But with that being said, this was, I have planned out my top 9 worst movies of the decade so far list too, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, both of these lists, both my best list and my worst list of the decade so far, these were not easy choices for me to make as to what films would crack my top 9 and would just be honorable mentions. I had to move around some things. So with that being said, strap in for a lot of honorable mentions. All right, my honorable mentions are Godzilla vs. Kong, A Quiet Place Part 2, In the Heights, Dune, both Part 1 and 2, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Encanto, the Justice League, the Snyder Cut of Justice League, that is, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Jackass Forever, The Batman, The Northman, Top Gun Maverick, Barbarian, Avatar: The Way of Water, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Joyride, Oppenheimer, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Boy and the Heron, Inside Out 2, Transformers 1, and Nosferatu. All those were fantastic films that have come out in the past 5 years. Too bad they could. I was honestly, part of me was really tempted to make this a top 18 list instead of because 9 being my favorite number instead of doing a top 20. It's hey, what's 9 times 2? 18. But however, I decided just for brevity's sake, I'm just keep it at number 9. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, kicking off my list for my number 9 spot, I decided to break the rules, my own rules with this list, because these are all 3 films of the same franchise. And when I was making this list, I was like, okay, should I include like 1 film per franchise or 2 films per franchise? Because I was like, man, I really couldn't decide like which one of these 3 films I liked more than the other 2, because I knew at least one of them had to crack this list. So I decided to smudge all 3 of them, for my number 9 spot. That is Spider-Man No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and Deadpool and Wolverine. These were all MCU films that were also like my second favorite films of their respective years. Like Spider-Man No Way Home being my second favorite movie of 2021, more of my favorites of these 3 years later, obviously. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 being my second favorite movie of 2023, and Deadpool and Wolverine being my second favorite movie of 2024. It's like, this, like, I've been very vocal about this, and this is no hot take by any means, I'm aware of that. But the MCU has passed its golden age, and it's like kind of like how Disney has been going through dark and golden ages for as long as Disney has been Disney. Now they own Marvel. It's like, I feel like Marvel films have also been going like back and forth between like dark times and golden times. And I feel like the MCU, is it as good as it used to be? No. But when it hits, it still hits. And Spider-Man No Way Home was just such a, like, this and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 are honestly my 2 picks for arguably the most emotional MCU films. And No Way Home it brought Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire all on the big screen together. And there was just so much like this film had going for it, and it paid off so well of all the different Spider-Man villains and all the moments and all the laughs and all the action scenes. And the writing was just so on point. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I think out of all of these 3 MCU films, Guardians 3 was the one that impacted me the most, just on a personal level, because that film came out during my YouTube hiatus, right? Like a few weeks before I left for my internship at the Utica Zoo, right? And like the whole message that, like, you know, Drax, like this film was like, you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy, they were like the only cast of heroes who like had a loose end untied from Endgame. And I just love the conclusion that James Gunn brought to us. Like the ending just melted my heart. You know, Star-Lord, he has to pick up and learn how to swim. Drax and Mantis tell him that, and that's what he does. And Deadpool and Wolverine, guys, come on. It's Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds on screen together. This film was just batshit hilarious, and it was just so, like, it was the first R-rated MCU film, the one we finally deserved. And it's like seeing Wolverine and Deadpool on screen together, the action scenes, them roasting each other, and just all the hilarity and the insanity that ensued following that. And the soundtrack, oh my gosh. I can't praise that. Like, you know, there's just so much that, you know, all 3 films brought to us, and hopefully, like, you know, with Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts come out this year, like, I got mixed expectations going for it, but fingers crossed, more golden MCU films are coming our way soon. Alright, so when I made my top 9 worst, or top 6 worst movies of a 2024 video, I decided to smudge Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter for my number 3 and 2 spots, like, just together, because they're honestly tied for like my second and third worst movies of the year list. Since I did that for my worst list, I might as well do that for like a best list too for something, because both of these, my number 8 and my number 7 spot, they're both from DreamWorks. My 8th and 7th favorite films of the decade so far are Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and The Wild Robot. Again, they're both DreamWorks films that have come out in the past 3 years. And when I was making this video, like, I knew I wanted to include both films on this list. I really just couldn't decide as to which one I should put higher or below the other. So I decided just like, okay, just break my own rules again and just do like them both at the same time. Because like when I did my top 9 best movies of 2022 video, I give Puss in Boots: The Last Wish an honorable mention, but if I remade that video, it would easily crack like my top 5 of that year, because this film, The Last Wish, it is S tier. Like, I grew up with the Shrek movies, and, you know, I was excited hearing about a sequel to the Puss in Boots spinoff we got back in 2011, but I did not expect this film to crush my expectations. Like, you know, great villains, excellent animation, top-notch writing, the panic attack scene, holy cow, like, I was 24 when this movie came out, when I was interning in Nebraska. Like, I saw that movie. I saw Last Wish in theaters with my friend at the time, and like we Even I was freaked out by like the Death Wolf and stuff like that. I can't imagine how it scared the kids. And The Wild Robot, like, it's my favorite movie of 2024, and I really, really, really cross my fingers that it nails the Oscar, for Best Animated Feature, because this, again, it's such a beautiful movie, and so touching and heartwarming and funny, and it's just, the humor in both films is very on point. It's like, in a day and age where, like, animated films are like, PG animated films targeted for families feel more like hard G ratings. It was really great to see DreamWorks like push the envelope for for darker elements. Like this film, both these films, like they treat their audience like they're adults, even though they're technically targeted for kids, I feel like. And, again, the voice acting, Antonio Banderas as, Puss in Boots and, like, Lupita Nyong'o as Roz, for Wild Robot. Just everyone in both films did such a great job. And it's like, DreamWorks has become, like, I've always been rooting for DreamWorks. Because, we had some great Disney and Pixar films in the past few years, too. Like Encanto and Inside Out 2 and, films like that. But it's like, I always find myself rooting for the other animation studios to just, rise up and, make really great quality films. And DreamWorks is, that kind of studio that is, consistently inconsistent. A lot of DreamWorks films are just, just decent or meh, or just, not that great at all, unfortunately. But when they cook, they deliver a full-course meal. And yes, seeing Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and seeing The Wild Robot was like dining at the 5-star restaurant in a day and age where some animated films just feel like a bag of chips. Number 6! My number 6th spot. Oh man. Amber Mud Thunder, please call me. My number 6 spot goes to Prey. The Predator prequel that blew my... Again, I was really excited for this film when I saw the trailer for it back in 2022, and I so knew I got my money's worth with Hulu when this film was dropped summer of 2022. I've rewatched this movie quite a few times since then, and I've even watched this movie in its Comanche dub. I just love how this film took it mixed it took the franchise, the Predator franchise, back to its roots, back to basics, all the way back to what worked for it in the first place, and it brought back it intertwined it in a historical setting with Native American history and culture and representation. Was just, the whole blending was just genius. This film, I said it in my when I put this movie in my top 9 best of 2022 video, it's this film, it's basically Predator meets The Revenant. What more do you need? And I love how, like I said, it has representation. It has a strong female lead with Nadu, played by Amber Mud Thunder, and she's playing this this Comanche, this Comanche girl has to save her village from both the Predator and French fur trappers. It's Nadu is not a race swapped Dutch. This is how you do representation properly without shoving identity politics down our throats. Live action Disney mix. Excuse me. But yeah, she's not a race swapped Dutch. She goes through challenges and turmoil, and she's not perfect, and she makes mistakes, and she doesn't need brute strength or other conventionally masculine characteristics to take down the Predator. She's very smart and crafty and uses her knowledge of the land to her advantage. And also, she... And which also ties back to, the Predator. One of the main themes throughout the first Predator is that, strength can be a weakness, because you can't rely on your big guns or your bow and arrow in her case, or tomahawks, just purely on your weapons and your combat skills to take down the Predator, because its technology is way better than yours. So you have to use your brain and put it to use. And yeah, I've rewatched this film quite a few times. I still haven't seen the live action Airbender series or anything else that Amber Mud Thunder has been in. But this coming March, she's gonna be in Novocaine. I'm really glad to see her career grow from here. Number 5! All right, going into my top 5. It's crazy. This film, it was released because of the pandemic and because I didn't have any streaming services back then, I missed a lot of movies that came out in 2020, mostly because the theaters were closed for it. But it's before the theaters closed, that March, a few weeks before the world shut down and we couldn't go outside anymore, we were blessed with this gem. That is The Invisible Man. the director for this film is coming back in a few weeks to direct the Wolfman, which is like, I'm just like, hell yes, Universal Studios. We don't need the Dark Universe. We don't need Tom Cruise and the Mummy anymore. Like, we don't need to intertwine these films. Just make standalone, like, super dark and scary reimaginings of classic movie monsters. Just yes, yes, yes. Like, this was my favorite movie of 2020. Like, Elizabeth Moss was gonzo performance as this poor woman. The whole movie is told from her perspective as the Invisible Man is just like tormenting her and just killing people around her, and she can't see it. It's like, I remember making a meme back then, because I collected a lot of memes during 2020, right, because we were stuck inside. I made a meme with like John Cena and Drax being like, you can't see me, no, you can't see me, amateurs. What was that, punk? Amateurs. The Invisible Man is just like, because again, you can't see the Invisible Man, and like, this, geez, moving on. After 70 years, this was the film that finally made Godzilla an Oscar-winning franchise. Godzilla -1. Oh, like, this film was made on a budget of, like, what's the Japanese yen equivalent of 15 million American dollars. And this film, like, took home Best Visual Effects Oscar that year. And, like, it has better looking CGI than some of these $200 million budget blockbusters that I've seen in, like, within the past, like, 2 years. Like, that's insane. Like, Godzilla -1 is just, like, it's such a unique take, like, because we had, last year we had Godzilla X Kong, A New Empire, that was released, and people were noticing, like, oh, this film is like a box of chicken nuggets because of how silly and just how, like, simple-minded it is compared to, like, Godzilla -1. It's like, I'm convinced that Legendary Studios made Godzilla X Kong, like, a lot more simple-minded on purpose, because I know that Godzilla -1 was just put out by Toho, and how just dark and intense that film was. We have to, like, give the viewers something else to, like, sort of wash that down. That's the thing, like, people love to just, like, bash the MonsterVerse and praise -1, which I don't think is really fair, because, like, I gave Godzilla vs. Kong an honorable mention, right? That is my favorite MonsterVerse film, right? But, like, Godzilla -1, I just, even though it's not, like, it might not be as entertaining as the MonsterVerse films, it's just an objectively way better movie, personally, because, like, not every Godzilla film has to be, like, Godzilla and Kong and King Ghidorah and Mothra and Rodan and all the other monsters just punching each other in the face recklessly. And at the same time, like with Godzilla -1, not every Godzilla film has to be this super dark, gritty, and intense, like, anti-war allegory about survivor's guilt and the threat of nuclear weapons. But, like, I think the Godzilla fans and monster movie fans deserve both. And I really do believe that, like, the best monster, like, movies, like, whether it's Godzilla or King Kong or whatever else, are period pieces, because, like, I touched base on my review for Godzilla -1 and other videos I made discussing this since then. Like, the original Godzilla from the 1950s was, like, released not even 10 years after Hiroshima and Nagasaki was bombed, the end of World War II. And, like, and the original Godzilla was made to be like an allegory for nuclear weapons. This film takes those themes to a whole new level. And Godzilla, they took the original design from the Showa era of Godzilla and made him menacing AF. And just yes, like, Legendary Studios, Toho Studios, keep them coming, boys. I'm gonna see everything that Godzilla, from this point on. All right, my bronze medal for my favorite, for like this list for my best movies of the decade so far. But before I recorded this video, I went back and rewatched my tier list video I did back in 2022, like when I was that March. I decided, because I was like, okay, we're like a quarter way through the decade now, and I didn't make like a top 9 best list or worst list for either 2020 or 2021, because obviously I didn't get to see enough movies that came out that year to really do so. So I decided, like, back then I made a whole tier list of like all the films I'd seen that, in the decade at that point, from worst to best, and I put this at the top of that list. And yeah, it technically has been dethroned, but still holds a special place in my heart, and that is The Suicide Squad. Hands down the best DC film we've had in a very, like, in years. Like, James Gunn, both this and Guardians of the Galaxy, hell, he's in 2 movies on this list. Like, that is just, he's such a genius. I can't wait to see what he does as Superman. And like, this was the R-rated sequel that Suicide Squad deserved, because the 2016 Suicide Squad, I still like that movie despite all the backlash that's received over years. But if there's any DC film that needed like an R-rated do-over, it was definitely Suicide Squad, because I've read some of the Suicide Squad comics, and yeah, the comics are very like just dark and over the top and quite disturbing in a few scenes. Like, I can't get enough of like everyone's performances and the writing and the adventure they go on, the action scenes and the comedy. Who can possibly forget Sylvester Stallone as King Shark? He's so cute and funny and quotable. He holds the book upside down and he's like, "So smart, me enjoy books so much." It's like, that film was released the summer before I graduated from CSU. My major was English. That was me whenever I forgot to do the assigned reading for class and I had to pretend to know what I was talking about in the middle of freaking class. And Daniela Melchior, her big break as Ratcatcher 2. Oh my gosh, I've been happy again, just like Amber Midthunder. I am a huge fan of like just following like young actresses and seeing them like grow throughout their career. They get their big break with a certain film and just watching their career expand. Yeah, Daniela Melchior, she's like that kind of actress where it's like, I've seen her in other movies, and she's definitely been like one of the standouts in each of them, and I'm really excited to see what she does next. And yeah, she was great as Ratcatcher 2, and Sylvester Stallone was great as King Shark, Idris Elba was great as Bloodsport, and Margot Robbie, which this may or may not have been her last go as Harley Quinn, was great as Harley, and Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, and and all these, both the older characters we were already introduced to in the older DC films, as well as new characters introduced to for this film. This film actually underperformed the box office, so unfortunately we might not get another R-rated Suicide Squad movie directed by James Gunn. But hey, we still gotta like love and cherish this movie for what it is, because I've bought it on DVD and I've rewatched it plenty of times. And yeah, like I still have, I brought some like Suicide Squad comics I've not read yet, so maybe I'll do a book review for those soon. Okay. Now the silver medal for best film of the decade so far. It's also my favorite animated film of the decade so far, and it was my favorite movie of 2023. This film broke my YouTube hiatus, that June when I was interning at the Utica Zoo. That, my friends, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. My review for this movie was the first the first video that I had made, like, within, like, that 2.5 month time frame after, like, I lost my internship in Oregon. Like, I was, just in Denver, living in my uncle's house, door dashing, and just figuring out what I was going to do for the rest of the year. Like, I took a break from making YouTube videos. Then I got accepted for the Utica Zoo internship, and I left Colorado, said goodbye to my uncle, and, drove out there for 3 days and got the ball. This film was released, like, right after my first week at that internship, and I knew right there and then I have to end my hiatus and review this movie now. And like, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, there's this and its predecessor, Into the Spider-Verse. Seriously, there is not a scene in either film that just isn't brilliant. I've said that many times in my videos within the past, like, soon to be 2 years discussing this movie, and I'll say it again here, like, Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker, Spider-Punk, Spider-Man India, like both the characters we met in the first Spider-Verse film and the new characters we were introduced to, everyone just bounced off each other so well. And just like Puss in Boots: Last Wish and The Wild Robots, like, this film is a PG film that's like targeted for like kids and people of all ages, but no matter what your age is when you're watching, it's going to treat you like an adult. And there's just so much profound themes throughout the film and its predecessor too. And like, I already know that like Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse has been delayed. That's okay. Just like DreamWorks, let Sony cook. Let them make the full course meal, because I'm pretty sure they're gonna outdo the animation style once again. Because these films are revolutionary, and this is a thing with the Oscars, right? They have a tendency, when they know that like, hey, this franchise is gonna have 3 movies, they tend to just like shower the third film with awards. That's what they did with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, back in the early 2000s, or Return of the King, like, won 11 Oscars, including Best Picture. I wouldn't be surprised if Beyond the Spider-Verse just hits it out of the park, both critically and financially, and like, it gets showered with Oscars, because this was just like, it was the movie of the summer and the movie of the year back in 2023. And there's like, I even saw it in theaters twice. And it's just an all-out feast for both your eyes and your ears and your brain. Like, seriously, everything you go to the movies for. Can't praise it enough. Alrighty, my number one favorite film of the decade. As of now, this film, again, I collect DVDs. I bought this movie on DVD, and I've rewatched it plenty of times already. And just, there's still, no, this was a really difficult choice for me to make as to, what my favorite movie of the decade was as of now. But that honor, there's really no other film like this. Everything Everywhere All at Once is my pick for best movie of 2020s so far. We'll see if that changes when 2030 rolls around. Excuse me. We'll see if there's a film that manages to dethrone this, but it's this film crushed it at the Oscars, including Best Picture. They won Michelle Yeoh a Best Actress award and Ke Huy Quan for Best Supporting Actor, and even Jamie Lee Curtis of all people winning Best Supporting Actress. Stephanie Hsu was up for that award too, and Stephanie Hsu, I didn't know who she was before I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, and now I do, and it's I'm really tempted to get Peacock to see her new show Laid, because that looks interesting, because I want to see whatever she's in next now. It's there's just so much this film delivered. It blended sci-fi, action, comedy, drama, and romance, all in one package. So many profound themes with this whole multiverse premise, and the themes of family and love and relationships, and the representation too, with a predominantly Asian cast, with Michelle Yeoh playing this immigrant mother, and Ke Huy Quan, her husband, her daughter played by Stephanie Hsu, and just there's so many gripping and intense moments, the freaking fanny pack scene with Ke Huy Quan just doing martial arts on the students in the fanny pack. Oh, so badass. And the funny moments, when there's so many moments in this film that just have me busting my gut. And visually, it's a feast for your ears. And it overall, it's just, I'm a very strange person, as you guys probably know if you watch my videos for long enough now. And this is a very strange movie, but strange is very special. And yeah, now that I'm making this video, I kind of feel like rewatching it again. There you guys have it. Those are my picks for my top 9 favorite movies of the decade so far. If you guys agree or disagree with my list, let me know in the comments down below, and feel free to comment whatever your favorite film of the past 5 years has been, or you can make a list, a top 3, top 5, top 10, top 15, top 20, whatever it takes. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching this video, and subscribing to my channel, please. You guys have a good day, and stay beastly.